Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair ice fishing report. It is Thursday, January 27th, and man, we've made some amazing ice out there for the last 2 weeks now, and it's still making ice right now. I mean, we're still got, I don't know, maybe it's 15 degrees outside or something like that, but we've had a massive cold snap here, and the lake is locked up. It's locked up really well. However, I will say, if you look at the satellite imagery, you'll notice that the lake, or the main lake ice, did tend to pull away from the American shoreline out, like out from Metro. It's out probably 3 miles out. It looks like it pulled away, and then down all along through the mile roads, leaving I don't know, maybe a mile ice or so down through there. But I think the reason for that was we had the ice cutters come up, and you can kind of, if you're on that satellite image, you can kind of see the lines going through the middle of the lake, coming out of the Detroit River and going up into the St. Clair River. They're kind of faint lines, but I think those were left by the cutter when they went up and came back down. There was a big jam up on the St. Clair River, and I believe that jam was also creating that milky, cloudy water that a lot of you guys have been seeing out there on the lake when you're fishing in certain areas. And that's from that flow, the way it comes through on those jams, and it scuffs up the bottom, and it mixes in all kinds of other stuff, sediment and slush and everything with it. So I know that, I believe that's what was causing that cloudy water. And then when they released that jam, that extra push of water stirs things up. So it ought to clean up really fast. But don't be discouraged by that cloudy water. And I've told this to several people. That cloudy water doesn't really impact the fishing, and in some cases that cloudy water may only be up high, and if you drop your camera down, you may see that the cloudy water dissipates once you get down near the bottom, and it may clear up. And I've seen that a bunch of times in a lot of places where that water will stratify by color, and that water down near the bottom is actually much cleaner and clearer than the water is up on the top. So don't let that discourage you. I mean, I know it's a pain in the neck for you guys that are trying to spear, but for you guys that are just chasing fish with rod and reel out there, that cloudy water can be your friend, because it helps to make those fish feel a little more comfortable, because they can't see everything that's going on around them, and they're not quite as skittish in that off-colored water as they are sometimes in that gin clear water. So fishing up on the north end has still been good. Panfish in the canals and the backwaters in and around the raft. I know there's been some nice fish caught up there. There's been some big pike speared up there. We've had pike kind of coming in all week. Not quite big enough to bump the board, but there's been some big pike getting speared up there in the north end and being caught on tip-ups as well. Perch fishing is still going on up there. However, I don't think the size of the fish is still as good up on that north end as some of the fish they've been getting down here by the Metro Park. Metro Park, they still have been catching perch in and around there. Over by Harley, that ice over there is finally locked up too, although use extreme caution if you're going to go on that north side, on the Clinton River side, because you do have current coming out of there. And when we get all of this wind, remember from my last report talking about how that current increases and erodes the ice from the bottom. So, but there's basically been perch fishing going on all over the place, and it's been hit or miss with the weather patterns. I expect the fishing to pick up, especially as we get closer to that warm up that we have coming later in the week. If you've been watching the weather reports, we do have a warm-up coming, and maybe some snow. Could be quite substantial snow coming maybe early next week. It looks like maybe Monday, Tuesday. But we're going to be on a little bit of a warming trend now. I think we're going to peak on this cold front here probably tomorrow, and then starting Saturday we should start to see things turning around a little bit weather-wise. And as that does, that bite should pick up as well. However, like I said, the bite has not been bad. Guys are still catching walleyes out there in that 10 to 12 foot of water off of the Metro Park and like out in front of Crocker and over back that way. Guys have just started fishing the spillway from what I understand, although that spillway ice is it's always sketchy. So I would really caution anybody, you know, on that spillway, but the guys do fish it. They do catch walleyes there, and they do catch perch there. So, and it has been froze now for a couple of days. So, let's see, what else do we got? Panfish bite has still been going pretty good back in the Metro Park. So the guys are still catching some nice panfish back there. kind of the ice fishing gift that keeps on giving. They're catching gills and sunnies and some crappies back there, and then they're occasionally getting perch over in the boat basins as well, actually some decent perch in the basin. So on those days when the wind is just howling too much out there on the lake and you want to seek some cover, you can always come back in and fish these backwater areas around the Metro Park. Still been a busy week at the store as far as fish coming in for weigh-in. We've had big perch, we've had big rock bass, had some crappies come in, and a shout out to Jim out there. He owns like 3 spots as of right now. It could change, but he's got perch, he's got sunfish, bluegill, and he's got the big crappie on the board now too. So Jim's got a bullseye on his back, and I know guys are going to start following you around out there, man. So, yeah, so Jim's got 3 spots in that multi-species category. One thing I wanted to bring up is that we had kind of an amazing fish story out there on the ice this week. One of our customers, using one of our Flatline 2 rods, I think it was the 32-inch that he was using, landed a 6-foot sturgeon, if you can believe it. A 6-foot I'm sorry, probably not 6 foot, a 60-inch sturgeon out there. I mean, that's what he said it was, measured 60 inch. So it's a 5-foot sturgeon, still 5 foot, 6 foot, 5-foot sturgeon through the ice, one of our ultralight rods. Thankfully, he was using 8-pound test on the rod, which I don't recommend because the rod's not rated for that. But as you can see from this little video snippet, he worked that rod like he got all of the strength out of it and then some fighting that sturgeon. But it takes amazing patience to land a big fish like that through the ice, and it definitely helps to have a second pair of hands chopping, connecting holes so that you can eventually land the fish. And we've done that before on big fish. Usually it's muskie that make us do that, but a monster sturgeon, and my understanding was it was out in front of the spillway. And so that is a fish of a lifetime, and a fish story of a lifetime too, for an ice fisherman to catch a monster sturgeon like that through the ice and then release it, obviously, because the season is closed, and you got to release those fish if you catch them now. But what an amazing story that Anthony has to tell, hopefully his kids someday, about this monster sturgeon that he caught out here on Lake St. Clair through the ice. So you never know what you're going to get when you're ice fishing out here. In the wintertime, it's not incredibly uncommon, especially up on the north end of the lake, to catch steelhead through the ice, the occasional Atlantic salmon, maybe even a brown trout. You never know what you're going to get through the ice out there. And yes, even a sturgeon you can catch out there through the ice, which is kind of remarkable. So like I said, the weather's going to be changing here a little bit, going to be warming up a little bit. It's not going to do anything to this ice unless we get a big blow, but the ice doesn't really have anywhere to go now. Down there on Erie, you can see from that satellite image too that some of Erie is starting to freeze up. I haven't heard of guys going out there yet in some of the areas. There's a ton of open water out there still, but it takes a lot to freeze Lake Erie. I mean, it really does. And with all that open water, there's always a place for the ice to go. So it's always kind of a dangerous situation out there on Erie. But it looks like these guys may be able to get out there, or maybe already have, and I just don't have any reports. But from the satellite imagery, they do have ice down there, so we'll have to wait and see to get a report on that. I know a lot of guys are going up to Saginaw for the walleye up there. It's froze up pretty good. So, but we got plenty of ice here to keep us busy now. So for the guys that want to go out, you got plenty of ice. I expect there's going to be a lot more machines out on the ice this weekend, which means it's going to be a lot busier traffic-wise, especially up there on that north end around Anchor Bay, where the guys like to run their snowmobiles and everything. But heck, we got a warm-up coming this weekend, so get out, enjoy it, and have fun out there on the ice. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon, and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.